This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, how there, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, April the 2nd. I caught you off guard, huh? But yeah, April 2nd, 2007, the Florida Gators did it. They went back to back, becoming the first team since Duke in 91 and 92 to repeat as NCAA basketball champions. Now, you wouldn't really think Florida as a basketball powerhouse, but they were decent. They returned practically their entire lineup from the 2006 title. Okay. Now, the 2007 NCAA tournament was different in a sense because, well, not only has it been the last time that a NCAA champion has gone back to back, UConn is chasing for that mantle as we speak, as this is being taped. But the fact of the matter was that the upsets weren't there. This was actually the last tournament in history that no team seeded 12, 13, 14, 15, or 16 won a game. Every first round game was won by the top 5 seeds in each regional. As you are 12, 5, 13, 4, 14, 3, 15, 2, 16, 1. But yeah, that happened. UNLV made it to the Sweet 16 as a 7 seed. This was actually the second time since the tournament expanded to 64 teams in 1985 that no team seeded 8 or lower actually was in the Sweet 16. The only other time was in 1995. That was it. So anyway, it was huge and all that. So the four groups were there. The first group was the Midwest Regional, as Florida, the 1 seed, crushed Jackson State quite handily, had a tough time with Purdue but beat them by 7, beat Butler by 8, although Butler would come back in subsequent years, and would beat the 3 seed Oregon Ducks 85-77 to move on to the Final Four. In the West Regional, UCLA was the 2 seed who got by Weber State, Indiana, Pitt, and beat the number 1 seed Kansas Jayhawks to move on to the Final Four. Kansas would get their revenge back the next year, winning the 2008 title. In the East Regional, the 1 seed North Carolina Tar Heels lost to the number 2 seed Georgetown Hoyas with my man Denham Brown from Toronto. Anyway, Georgetown beat Belmont, Boston College, Vanderbilt, and North Carolina to get this far. In the South Regional, the 1 seed Ohio State Buckeyes won over Memphis after beating Central Connecticut, Xavier, and Tennessee. But Memphis, like Kansas, would come back the next year and play in the NCAA tournament game, but lose. Anyway, the Final Four saw Florida beat UCLA 76-66, while Ohio State beat Georgetown 67-70. So we had a Florida-Ohio State final. What was freaky was that if you're a fan of NCAA football, you would know that Ohio State Florida met in the national championship game for football, which was weird. Florida crushed Ohio State in that BCS title game 41-14. Ohio State did, I believe, had the opening kickoff for a touchdown. So anyway, we're at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. We had the 1 seed Gators versus the 1 seed Ohio State Buckeyes. They actually met each other in 2006 with Florida beating Ohio State 86-80, trying to prove they can go back to back. So anyway, the starting lineups were big. Ohio State had Jamar Butler, Mike Conley Jr., who would go on to do many things with other teams, including the Memphis Grizzlies in the NBA. Ron Lewis, Ivan Harris, and Greg Oden, who was supposed to be this can't-miss prospect who Portland decided we need to invest in this guy, but Oden's leg injuries would cost him dearly in the start of his career. Florida went with Torian Green, who went to the NBA, but I forgot who he played for. Lee Humphrey, Corey Brewer, who was a first-round pick in the NBA draft, Joakim Noah, who was a first-round pick, I know, by the Bulls, and Al Horford, who was a first-round pick by Atlanta, I would like to say. So anyway, Florida had a lot of things going for him. The Gators crushed Ohio State in the first half, 40-29. So Florida looked pretty dominant. and all that. It was pretty impressive that Lee Humphrey, Torian Green, Al Horford, and Corey Brewer could be a cohesive unit in front of 51,000 fans. Greg Oden did score 25 points and 12 rebounds. The only problem was Ohio State wasn't in it. Although Ohio State would try and would pick up the pace in a high scoring second half, it ended up being Florida's win 84-75. Is your final a gigantic win for Florida in a sense? Corey Brewer was named most outstanding player of the tournament and, you know, did quite well for himself. So Corey Brewer was drafted by Minnesota, 7th overall. Okay, so he was drafted by Minnesota. So, yeah, he did that. Billy Donovan, at age 41, became the third youngest coach to have multiple national titles. Well, win his second title at age 41. Only Bob Knight and Phil Wolpert did that. At age 40, Bob Knight for Indiana and Wolpert for San Francisco back in the 1950s. Anyway, the Gators became the first team to be the NCAA football and basketball champions in the same academic year and calendar year, if you will. This was just unbelievable. And this was actually the first time in basketball history that the exact same starting five won back-to-back titles. So Noah, Brewer, Humphrey, Horford, and Green were the starting lineup in the 2006 final. But now in 2007, they won the championship. Lee Humphrey of Florida set the record for most three-pointers in a tournament with 47, breaking Bobby Hurley's record of 42. But Florida deserved it in a sense. I mean, who would have known they were the SEC powerhouse when you have like Arkansas, a little biased, of course, Kentucky, and possibly Tennessee in there too. But yeah, Florida proved themselves worthy and the last back-to-back champions in NCAA basketball history. It's just hard to believe that it's been 17 years since that, and UConn is going for that prestigious thing. So anyway, Florida did it. They were back-to-back champions. And like it or not, they had the football and basketball daily double. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.